Well, hello there, my friends, and glorious Thursday. This is going to be kind of a rough video, and I'm not changing my voice or anything for this video. So, 14 years ago today was the day that we had two of our brothers killed in Afghanistan. And I'll never forget that day. And I want to tell you the story and kind of, I guess, get it off my chest. I have memory problems myself, so there might be parts of this video that I kind of lose train of thought. I was in a vehicle rollover myself, and I have MTBI, mild traumatic brain injury, and that's another story for another day, which is actually kind of a cool story. But anyway, so one of the guys that was killed, I knew both of them, but my buddy Matt Harmon, I met him. I was supposed to go on a mini deployment, but I ended up being on Rear D, so I had to stay back for that, and I was kind of in a rough place. And he was one of the sergeants that took care of the people that were back on Rear D. So my platoon sergeant, told him about me and that I was a field soldier, a good soldier, and stuff like that, and to kind of, look over me while everybody was gone. And he did. So I ended up becoming really good friends with him. He was, he was an artist. He was into video games. He played guitar. We had a lot of talks. I saw some of his artwork. He had artwork in Heavy Metal magazine, which was, that's really awesome. And man, his art was really cool. And I really wanted to hang out with him more, but we were just always busy with work. So, and we did talk a lot when we were at work. And he was kind of like my motivator, mentally, creatively, kind of, spiritually, kind of things like that, helping me out, just with Army stuff. Army, a lot of times Army sucks, and being in garrison fucking sucks. So, we dealt with things as well as we could. We would joke around, and and then I had another sergeant, I think his name was Sergeant Woods, and he was kind of like my physical training guy. Like, he really inspired me to really, I was in really good shape at this time, and I was trying really hard to do the best that I could. And I was supposed to be going in the sniper unit, but that's another story for another time. And that didn't end up happening. I became a machine gunner. But anyway, so Matt was like my motivator, and I really looked up to him. He was a really great sergeant, and Sergeant Woods as well. And I got to know Sergeant Harmon really well, and it was coming up to the time where everybody was back at this time and everything, and then we found out that we were going to be getting ready to deploy. And he had, he was a father and a husband. I think he had a few kids, at least one that I know of. And everybody was, we're excited and a little bit scared at the same time. It's like, yeah, we're gonna finally get to do our job, and that's really fucking cool. But the job we did, which was infantry, well, he was a mechanic. He was attached to us, and you know, we go out and we fight. You know, we fight the enemy and close and destroy it. So, you know, I remember this really well, and he decided to re-enlist to to deploy with us, and I'll never forget that. And so he was going to deploy with us, and I asked him. You know, he was on, like, I think it was it staff duty or whatever. Ah, man, I can't remember. You know, not in our barracks, but our work area. It's been a long time. It's hard to remember what it's called. If you know, I mean, tell me in the comments. It's just right on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember everything, but anyway, it was something like staff duty or something during the day. And I said, man, I was like, because he was deployed before, so I think he was in Iraq, and he, you know, he made it through, and you know, he was been through everything before. So I asked him, I was like, man, you think we're going to be all right, Sergeant Harmon? He said, you know what, Mike? He's like, I think we're going to be fine. So that is one thing of the many things from this story that I'll never forget him saying. And I mean, we all knew what signing, you know, our contracts that, you know, could, you know, end up with our deaths. But you know, we didn't really think much about that. We just trained, and we trained well, and we were ready to go. And we did a lot of hard training, and I think we were really well prepared to do the job we had to do, which was train the Afghan army. Which really, what we did was, we did training, but we also pretty much went out on missions and babysat them a lot. So if they get into shit, we would kind of bail them out. And one of the first things we did was, you know, we would deal with the locals and things like that. And there was this route that the unit before us took casualties on. I think they even had a few fatalities on this route, and it was called Route Dodge. But Route Dodge was just the beginning. We needed to go down this route because there was another place called Yayakel, and our combat outpost was called Yusufkel. And they had one of the old Russian bases there that used to be in the Afghan army's hands, which was on our side. The Taliban ended up taking it, and from Route Dodge all the way to this little town, you know, there was fighters embedded in all these houses, and you know, until we got to Yayakel. And even beyond that, once you go up into the mountains, I think it was called Amna. There was another name for it as well. They had another, that was their last base area before the border of Pakistan. So first we had to clear these streets going up to Yayakel. So anyway, before this, me and the rest of the guys in my platoon, like, we were, you know, really solid. We were going on missions all the time. We had mine-resistant vehicles. We had Max Pros, which are the big boxy-looking vehicles, and we had MAVs, which were supposed to be, you know, resistant to rollovers, but that's another story for another time, as I said. So it was August 14th, and we were going down Route Dodge, and there's a video of this part. This is not really the bad part. So one guy's recording from the turret. I can't remember which guy it was, but there's a video of this, and we have Apache cover over our heads, and you know, we're a few vehicles back in the convoy, and you can see our LT, and he's walking alongside of some of the vehicles in the convoy, and everybody is kind of like on edge. You know, everybody's being careful, and there's a field on the right side, and then our vehicles are kind of like in a line here, and we have Afghan forces with us as well. And our first sergeant's Max Pro, which is one of the larger mine-resistant, supposedly mine-resistant vehicles, is going up, and it's going around the other vehicles, and you see it coming around this way, and it goes around, and then it hits this, you know, little, you know, part in the ground here, and you see the vehicle, just this huge explosion. And the Max Pro, this is a huge vehicle, you can look it up. It goes up like this on back, you know, like two wheels on the back, straight up, and it goes on its side. So that's when the video cuts out. And our first sergeant, I believe he ended up having his eardrums blown out, and the gunner, it was an open turret, and I'm trying to remember what his name was, but he broke his arm so bad that they both needed to be medevaced. And First Sergeant Hodges, I think he was sent to Fob Sharana for a little bit to heal from that. And the other guy, man, it's right on the tip of my tongue. He was sent back to Landstuhl in Germany, and his arm was hurt so bad that he was med-boarded out of the army. He didn't come back for the rest of the deployment. And well, they took care of him, but that was the first, you know, the first crazy thing to really happen. Up to this point, nothing really relevant happened. I mean, we had been on a bunch of patrols and stuff, and talked to locals, and, you know, gave kids water, and, you know, like worked on trying to help build a school for females and kids, all good stuff. But this was the first, you know, hostile action that we really saw, and we couldn't just leave the vehicle there. We had to recover it. So our mechanics were called in with a vehicle. We called it the Wrecker, and they were going to come in and retrieve this vehicle. And they came out, and we were always taught, it was, you know, I didn't know the other guy as well. Losing my train of thought. Give me a second here. Corporal Vandreumel. He was a specialist at the time. I didn't know him as well, but I still kind of knew him a little bit. He was a really funny guy, seemed really cool, you know. And they were coming out to retrieve this vehicle after the other guys were medevaced. And one of the things we were taught, I mean, we did a lot of training back in garrison to, you know, realize where IEDs were, but it's not that easy. We were also taught, if you're going to dismount a vehicle, you do your 05s and 25s. So, You know, when you open the door, you look down 0, out 5 meters, and then out 25 meters, and you look down and you look out before you step on the ground, because there might be, you know, a mine there or something. So they got there, and we were some vehicles back in the convoy, and everybody, you know, that had guns, they were we were in our vehicles, and everybody was pulling security. There was no, you know, there was no small arms fire or anything going on right now. Everything was over at this point. And they came out, and when they got out of their wrecker, I couldn't see this actually happen. I saw the aftermath of it because we were kind of far back in the convoy. They got out, and I guess there was a commandet or a secondary IED. So they ended up getting hit with this secondary, and they were both killed by this secondary IED. So over the radio, we saw the plume of smoke come up. I saw that, and we heard that we had 2 KIA. So at first, you know, we thought it was enemies. Okay, you know, and we had to, after this, you know, we had to, you know, even get more support assets to come in and extract what was left of our buddies. So after this, we ended up switching out with the other platoon, I believe, and when we got back, I found out who it was, and that was when you know, training was over. The war became real, and that was our introduction to reality of war. And that feeling that I had, and I think most of us had, it was just a silence at first, like you can't believe that happened. And after that, you know, you're really sad and you can't believe it. And then after that, you get angry. And then after that, you want revenge. So after this, there was about a week where we had to go back and forth to the area to make sure we got all the pieces of our buddies. I didn't see that part. I just pulled security. And I have another story that ties into this, and I should have told it earlier. I know this is a longer video, but I remember the last conversation that I ever had with Matt, and so we were talking about guitars and how he played. I'm like, man, you know, I'm not very good. And he's like, yeah, man. He's like, I'll teach you some scales. You know, we'll have our guitars sent to us and we can play together. I'm like, man, that's a really great idea, man. You know, like that's going to be really awesome. So we were, you know, we had this conversation, and it was in the shower, and there were stalls between us. But you know, that's common for guys to talk in the shower when, you know, you're in a combat zone, of course. So that was the last conversation that I ever had with my friend. It was a good conversation, but I'll never forget that either. So anyway, the aftermath. We stayed there and, you know, did the cleanup while our medics and stuff did that. And I guess the first actual combat that we saw was 2 days later. I mean, I thought it was that night, but maybe I was wrong, because my combat infantryman badge says that it was the 16th, I believe. So we were out there. I guess it would have been the second day, because at first we went back and then we came back to pull security while this was going on. And we were all on this road here, and we're all in a line and everybody's pulling security. And, you know, they like to attack us when it was either really, you know, the visibility was bad. So early in the morning, it's sun up or sundown. I mean, there was also, we would get into shit in the middle of the day too, but so there was a hillside up on this side here. Say we're facing this way. Well, we were facing this way, and the hillside is over here. And we're in the vehicles, and it's nighttime. It's, you know, it's getting dark out, and we didn't have an RPG cage or anything like that on our Mathew. I can't remember if we were in a Mathew or if we were in a Max Pro at the time, but you know, we didn't have any real protection other than our armor, our steel. I mean, that's protection too. But anyway, from up on this hill, there was a Taliban guy, and he ended up shooting an RPG down at the vehicle that was directly in front of our vehicle. So I think he might have been aiming for us, or maybe he was aiming for that one, but it had an RPG cage on it. And this is one of the only times I ever saw a fireball, which usually doesn't happen. It's usually impact when you see an explosion. But since it was nighttime, this RPG came down and hit this vehicle on the side. The fins caught it, so it blew up. And you saw this fireball. It just lit up the sky. And the vehicle went up on two wheels like this and back down again. And as soon as that happened, everybody that was either in an open turret or they were in a crow system, they all turned their turrets to the side, and they all lit up that side of the fucking hill. I mean, they just fucking went nuts with it. And our vehicle, our gun jammed. So I was pretty pissed off, but I wasn't the gunner at the time. I was just a dismount. So I was begging, I can't remember who my sergeant was, maybe Sergeant Cruz, I can't remember, but I was begging to take the AT-4, which is our single shot rocket launcher, and go up in the turret and get a fucking shot off. You know, I wanted to get some too. And they told me no, you know, and we had to, you know, fix our gun that was down. And they ended up eliminating this guy. You know, they just annihilated him. And, you know, everybody that was in the guns that night, they all, you know, everybody claimed credit for that kill. And rightly so. You know, everybody wanted to get some revenge. And we still, you know, that was just the beginning. And after that, you know, after that week, we became pretty wise. And I mean, we were trained really well. And Our new mission was to, you know, destroy these guys and drive them out of Yahyel and drive them all the way back to Pakistan, which we ended up building a checkpoint. We built a checkpoint, and then we fought building to building in this neighborhood. And while we were building the checkpoint, we either did foot patrols or we did 360 security while the engineers worked. So we built that. We fought our way to Yahyel. Once we got there, it was supposed to be a big battle, but the Taliban fled, like they always do, because they're fucking afraid, you know, to face us head on. They always do fucking coward shit. But anyway, we took over Yahyel, and the people were happy. They had, you know, the Afghan national flags up. It was really cool. We made it so safe there that we were able to, you know, I mean, there was guard posts and everything, and people were on guard at all times, but we were able to play volleyball on the combat outpost. So that was pretty cool. So that became kind of one of our bases that we could go to. After this, I think within the next month or so, we pursued the Taliban into the mountains. So we found out they were up there, and this was their last bastion. And this was really cool, and it's more of a story for another time. One of the coolest stories I have, but we did a battalion size mission up there, and it was for a week. And we went up on Chinook helicopters. Chinooks at like 2:30 in the morning under night vision, and landed up there. And the whole week, you know, we had everything, all the assets we needed. We had air support from Apaches. We had snipers in the mountains that were surrounding us. It was like a big valley on top of a hill, and then there was more mountains up on the side. And we went from one side of the village to the other, you know, and, you know, all the platoons and all the elements, they were all doing different things at different times. So we went, you know, from door to door basically, and checking to see if there was any Taliban anywhere. So, you know, that's what we had our interpreters for, to ask questions. And I gave our interpreter, Ollie, man, I hope Ollie's all right. I really love that guy, really good guy. I gave him a really big ass knife, you know, because they didn't let him have weapons. And he was real serious about, you know, if he thought they were lying, he'd, you know, take the knife out and he'd kind of threaten them a little bit. And, you know, they needed that little kick in the ass. But that was a big success. We didn't find any Taliban there because they had already fled over the border of Pakistan, and we couldn't go into Pakistan. So most of the fighters were Pakistani Muslims anyway, and they had, you know, already went over to the other side. And by this time, I think it was late fall about, and fighting season was just about over. So in the winter time, they don't fight, and they start again in the springtime. But anyway, after we lost our brothers, we really kicked it up a notch, and we took it to them, and we fucking got our revenge, and we fucking pushed them all the way out of the fucking country. And we didn't have any more casualties within our 3 platoons after this for the rest of the deployment. I think we had a few minor ones, but nobody after that, not in our company. Nobody else was killed or anything, but I'll never forget, my last conversation with Matt. And I'll never forget when he told me that he thought that we would be fine. That's something it'll stick with me for the rest of my life. And even people I served with, they asked if it was worth it or anything like that. And I mean, we knew what we signed up for. And I think it was worth it. I think we did a lot of good for those people, and I feel really bad for those people, especially the children and the little girls and the women. It's really terrible over there to see people in that under Sharia law in that situation. But that's pretty much the story, and they were really great guys. Specialist Vandreumel, he was actually posthumously awarded his corporal rank, and I mean, not that it means much because he lost everything, but sorry, it gets a little bit hard to talk about it. With this story, I just wanted to let you know about how good of guys they were, and I don't want them to ever be forgotten, and they'll never be forgotten. And I'll remember my friendship with Matt forever. So I hope that I don't know what they really believed in spiritually, but I know wherever they are that the gods or God or whatever, or even if they were, didn't believe in anything, that they're just at peace now. But I know that they're taken care of in the afterlife, and especially if Matt's in Valhalla, which I hope so. I hope that he's somewhere in Asgard, so that one day that I can meet him again. So that's pretty much the story. So this is in their memory, and I hope you guys enjoyed the story. Been wanting to get this off my chest for a long time. August 14th and Memorial Day are really hard days for me, and I know they're hard for a lot of people. But it's just how it is. Trying to think of what else I want to say here, because like I said, I still lose train of thought a lot, and I'll remember it after the video is over. The last thing I wanted to say. So about 5 years ago, I think, I was with my Uncle Tony, so there's kind of like a happy, not really a happy ending, but something positive that came out of this. So I was doing a ritual to my gods up in upstate New York with my Uncle Tony, and I was doing a blot to Odin. And I think my mom sent me a message or called me, and she told me that my brother and his girlfriend, they had a son, and he was born on August 14th. So now, the day that was so shrouded in darkness has a little bit of light to it. So now I have a little nephew that I can think of instead of instead of what happened. But anyway, my friends, I really hope you liked the video, and pour one out today for our fallen, for Matt and Joe. So stay metal and HaiL OdiN, my friends. And I'm gonna do, let me know what you think of this. I want to do more videos, because I have a lot more stories that are a lot more lighthearted and, you know, actually really funny. So I'll see you in the next one. Stay metal and HaiL.